My mom stood in my driveway, holding a tow truck contract and demanding $30,000 in back rent for the room I lived in during college. When I pointed out that I'd already paid her every month, she smirked and said, "Without a written lease, it's my word against yours. Pay up or your car gets sold today." My heart shattered, but I didn't fight. I handed her the keys, packed my life into 2 duffel bags, and walked away into the rain. Everyone in our family called me heartless for cutting her off. But exactly 7 days later, my phone blew up with 30 frantic missed calls and a tearful voicemail from my mom begging me to come back. What she didn't realize was that when she took my car, she also inherited the massive, life-altering secret hidden inside it. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. My name is Chloe. I'm 27 years old, and for the past 5 years, I've worked around the clock as an independent freelance graphic designer to build a stable, peaceful life for myself. I thought I knew who my family was, but everything changed on a rainy Sunday evening when I drove over to my mother's house for what was supposed to be a simple family dinner. The moment I stepped through the front door, the atmosphere in the living room felt suffocating. Sitting on the sofa was my mother, holding a stack of handwritten papers, and beside her was my half-brother, Tyler. Tyler was 24, unemployed, and my mother's undisputed favorite child, who could do no wrong. Before I could even put my coat away, my mother set down her mug and looked at me with cold, calculating eyes. "Chloe, we need to discuss your financial obligations to this family," she announced without a hint of warmth. She shoved the papers across the coffee table toward me. It was a breakdown of expenses charging me $30,000 in retroactively calculated back rent for the small bedroom I had occupied while attending college years ago. I stood there, completely stunned, reminding her that I had already paid my share of utilities and brought home groceries every single week back then. My mother simply smirked and leaned back in her chair. "Without a written lease proving otherwise, it's my word against yours. Tyler needs $30,000 to launch his new business venture, and as his older sister, you're going to fund it." When I firmly told her I wouldn't hand over my hard-earned savings, her expression hardened. "Fine," she sneered. "Since your car was co-signed under my name when you were 18, hand over the keys now, or I'm calling a tow truck to seize it today." I stared at my mother, waiting for a punchline that never came. Her face was a mask of cold satisfaction, while Tyler sat beside her, a smug grin plastered across his face. They truly believed they had backed me into a corner. They expected me to drop to my knees, beg for mercy, and hand over my hard-earned $30,000 just to save my vehicle. Instead, a strange sense of calm washed over me. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out the key fob, and set it gently on the glass coffee table. "Take it," I said, my voice completely devoid of emotion. My mother's smirk instantly faltered, replaced by a look of sheer bewilderment. "What?" she stammered, clearly thrown off by my sudden compliance. "You want the car? It's yours," I replied quietly. "I won't give you a single penny of my savings, and I certainly won't fund Tyler's endless delusions." Tyler's face flushed bright red as he snatched the keys off the table. "Fine. Walk home then. We'll sell it online by tomorrow morning and get our cash anyway." Without uttering another word, I picked up my coat, zipped it up, and turned toward the front door. Behind me, I heard my mother loudly telling Tyler that I was just throwing a childish tantrum and would come crawling back within 24 hours. They truly believed they had won a quick $30,000 victory. As I stepped out into the pouring rain and started the long walk home, I didn't feel defeated. I felt free. By the time I reached my small downtown apartment, my clothes were soaked through, but my mind was sharper than ever. Losing my primary mode of transportation was a setback, but I immediately adapted. Downtown living meant I could walk to the grocery store, order rides when necessary, and focus completely on my work from my home office. What my mother and Tyler failed to realize in their rush to ambush me was what actually remained inside that vehicle. As a senior freelance designer, I had recently landed a massive contract with a prominent corporate tech firm. To work on their unreleased flagship project, they had entrusted me with a locked, heavy-duty industrial storage case kept secure in the car's trunk. Inside was a high-value physical prototype unit along with encrypted hard drives containing non-disclosure protected files. It was property worth tens of thousands of dollars, strictly insured and legally registered under my design firm's name. I had planned to bring the case upstairs that very evening after dinner. Meanwhile, oblivious to the storm brewing, my mother and Tyler were celebrating their apparent triumph. They immediately listed my immaculate, low-mileage sedan online for a quick sale, pricing it far below market value just to turn a rapid profit. Tyler was already bragging on social media about his upcoming business funding, completely unaware that the locked trunk of that car held something far more dangerous than the fast cash they were hunting for. On the fourth day after they seized my sedan, Tyler decided it was time to prepare the car for a prospective buyer. He dragged a shop vacuum and cleaning supplies out to the driveway, eager to wipe away any trace of my existence before handing over the keys for a quick cash payout. But when he popped the trunk, his eyes landed on the heavy-duty industrial storage case anchored securely to the interior floorboard. The case was jet black, reinforced with steel latches, and locked tightly with a digital keypad and keyhole mechanism. Clearly marked with prominent red warning labels reading "Proprietary Corporate Property, Do Not Tamper," any reasonable person would have left it untouched. But Tyler, driven by his usual brand of arrogant greed, convinced himself he had stumbled upon a hidden treasure chest. He assumed I had been hiding expensive personal electronics, camera equipment, or stacks of cash inside. Rather than calling me or leaving the case alone, Tyler grabbed a heavy crowbar and a hammer from the garage. He aggressively wedged the metal pry bar into the seam of the reinforced casing, violently forcing the locking mechanisms apart until the heavy latches snapped. Inside, he didn't find stacks of money or commercial electronics. Instead, he found a fragile, custom-engineered physical prototype unit alongside encrypted corporate storage arrays. In his brute force assault to crack open the lock, Tyler snapped the main circuit housing of the prototype directly in half, severing the internal fiber optic lines. Worse still, embedded inside the case was an active GPS tracking module designed to alert the tech corporation's security team the moment the casing's structural integrity was breached without authorized clearance. Within seconds of the latch snapping, automated emergency protocols were triggered, notifying the corporate legal team that proprietary assets had been forcibly compromised. Exactly 7 days after I handed over my car keys, my peaceful morning was shattered by the sharp vibration of my phone. I glanced at the screen to see 15 missed calls and 6 frantic text messages, all from my mother. When I didn't respond, the phone began to ring again. I finally tapped the screen and brought it to my ear, remaining completely silent. "Chloe." "Oh, thank God, answer the phone," my mother shrieked, her voice trembling with a hysterical panic I had never heard before. Gone was the arrogant, calculating tone from the week prior. She was sobbing so heavily, she could barely catch a breath. "You need to come home right now. Please, Chloe, you have to help us." "What happened?" I asked calmly, taking a slow sip of my coffee. "There are men here," she wailed into the receiver. 2 men in suits presented official legal papers, and a private investigator with a process server showed up at our front door. "They say Tyler destroyed some kind of $1 million corporate prototype in your trunk. They're threatening federal property destruction charges, lawsuits, and police involvement. They say we're liable for hundreds of thousands of dollars." I could hear Tyler in the background, screaming in total terror as he realized the sheer magnitude of what he had done. "They said because the car is registered under my name and Tyler forced open the case on my property, we are directly responsible," my mother sobbed, her voice dripping with desperate begging. "Chloe, please tell them it's a mistake. Tell them to take the car back. We don't want the money. We don't want the rent. Just make them stop." I quietly set my coffee cup down on the counter. "I told you that car wasn't yours to mess with," I replied softly. "I'll meet you both at my attorney's office in 1 hour." An hour later, I sat calmly inside the glass-walled conference room of my legal counsel, flanked by my attorney and an authorized corporate representative from the tech firm. Across the mahogany table sat my mother and Tyler. They looked completely broken. My mother's eyes were bloodshot and swollen from crying, while Tyler sat trembling in his chair, staring blankly at the massive stack of legal documents resting before him. My attorney opened the folder and began speaking with icy precision. "Let us make the reality of your situation perfectly clear," she stated. "When you illegally extorted my client and seized her vehicle, you assumed full legal custody of that automobile. When Tyler used a crowbar to forcibly crack open a marked corporate enclosure, he committed willful destruction of proprietary high-value property." The corporate representative leaned forward, setting down a detailed assessment report. "The custom prototype destroyed in that trunk was valued at $150,000 in research and development costs alone. Because the breach triggered automatic non-disclosure violations, our legal department was prepared to file immediate civil lawsuits and press criminal property damage charges against both property owners listed on the vehicle's title." My mother burst into fresh tears, clutching her hands together in a desperate plea. "We don't have that kind of money. Please, we were just trying to sell the car. We didn't know." "Which is why my client is offering you a single alternative," my attorney interrupted smoothly, sliding a fresh document across the table. "You will immediately sign over total, unencumbered sole title of the vehicle back to Chloe. Furthermore, you will sign this legally binding settlement agreement accepting full financial responsibility for the physical repairs of the casing, forfeiting any claims to back rent forever, and agreeing to an absolute release of liability." Tyler grabbed the pen so fast his hand was shaking, signing his name before my mother could even dry her eyes. They signed every single line without a second of hesitation, entirely stripped of the arrogance they had carried just 7 days prior. The aftermath was swift and uncompromising. With the signed settlement documents safely in my attorney's hands, the corporate legal team agreed to withhold pressing criminal charges, though Tyler was still required to pay for the physical repair costs of the specialized casing out of his own pocket. To cover his sudden legal obligations and avoid further fallout, my mother was forced to liquidate her personal savings and sell her own surplus assets. Tyler's grand plans for his business venture evaporated overnight, leaving him with a mountain of debt and a severe dose of reality. As for me, I walked out of that law firm holding the sole, undisputed title to my car, completely free from any shared legal ties to my mother. The corporate tech firm was so impressed by how efficiently my legal team handled the situation that they extended my design contract for another 2 years. I parked my sedan back in my apartment garage that evening, feeling a deep, quiet sense of relief. Cutting ties with toxic family members isn't easy, but standing up for yourself and setting unbreakable boundaries is priceless. For the first time in my life, I am completely in control of my own future. Thank you so much for following my story to the very end. If you enjoyed this journey, please leave a comment telling me what city you're watching from, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories.